Henry Briggs cried while he washed the dishes. Henry had never been much of a crier, at least he hadn't thought so. The last year had proven him wrong. He was fine at work. He could put up a good front when he was with people. But when he was alone, he sobbed like a teenage girl watching Up for the first time. It wasn't constant. The tears had been coming less and less. Henry had held up hope he might finally be healing. Hell, maybe he was. But that didn't change the fact that he was blubbering all over his sink.
"Is this a bad time?"
The voice came from his right. Henry reacted on reflex. He snatched a steak knife from the drying rack and lunged at the figure who'd appeared beside him. A hand caught his wrist like a vice. Henry tried to ram his knee into the intruder's groin, then surged forward with a headbutt. The other man calmly shifted out of the way of both attacks. "Forgive my intrusion," said the other man.
"Forgive my intrusion," said the other man.
He was tall and lean, and dressed all in black. Black pants, black boots, black trench coat. He had a black t-shirt with the words "Serial Killer" emblazoned across it with white letters. The intruder's hair was bone white, spilling down his shoulders like some kind of emo fashion model. His eyes were a blue so bright they almost glowed. The intruder was the prettiest man Henry had ever seen. Henry hated him on sight.
"I am aware that I was not invited into your home," the man continued.
He released Henry's wrist and stepped back.
"I formally waive all expectations of guest rights."
His voice was deep and sonorous and smooth. There was an edge to it, not of danger but of amusement, like he was secretly laughing at Henry. "Who the hell are you?" Henry demanded. He debated trying to punch the prick again, but thought better of it. Instead, he stepped away from the sink, getting closer to the drawer that held his kitchen gun.
"How rude of me."
The man gave a smile and a bow that almost made Henry try to punch him in the teeth again.
"Men in my line of work never give their full names, but you can call me Gwydion."
"Okay." Henry shifted a little closer to the drawer. "Get the hell out of my house, Gwydion."
"If that's what you really want," said the man. "But I thought you would like to know what happened to your wife first."
Black rage ripped his way up Henry's body. He jerked open the drawer and snatched his kitchen gun. It was a Browning high-power 9mm. He flicked the safety off and leveled the weapon at the asshole. "Say that again," he ordered. Gwydion didn't look the least bit concerned about the gun pointed at his face.
He said, 1 year and 2 months ago, Helen Briggs disappeared. You went to the police. You hired private detectives. You searched high and low for 4 months. Then you stopped."
Henry felt his grip tighten on the gun. He had stopped looking because his wife was dead. She was dead, and he had killed her.
"During those same 4 months," Gwydion continued, "there was a rash of missing persons cases. People of all walks of life disappearing without a trace. They stopped around the same time you stopped looking for Mrs. Briggs."
"Who are you?" Henry demanded. "Police? FBI?"
"I'm not a member of law enforcement,"
Gwydion assured him.
"I'm not even human. At least, not entirely."
"Not human? Bullshit," Henry spat.
"Is it?"
Gwydion raised an eyebrow. He floated off the ground. He stretched his hands out to the side. A ball of fire appeared over each of them.
"Don't tell me you're one of those people who refuse to believe their own eyes. I'll be very disappointed if you insist there's a rational explanation after what you've seen."
Henry decided he'd had enough. He shot Gwydion. He did it right. 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. Instead of falling down dead, the floating man gave him an annoyed look. Henry didn't see any blood. It was almost like he hadn't shot the prick at all.
"You're not a patient man, are you, Mr. Briggs?"
Gwydion asked mildly. A sliver of fear wormed its way up Henry's spine. He let it. Fear was good. It would keep him sharp. "What are you?" he asked.
"I've told you my name," said the man. "You can look it up later."
Gwydion dropped lightly down to his feet. The balls of flame disappeared.
"You didn't kill your wife, by the way."
Henry very carefully kept the scowl on his face. How could he know about that? No one knew about that. Henry had burned everything. There should have been no evidence.
It was a ghoul, Gwydion clarified. A type of undead. Nasty things. My people were tracking it down, but you found it first.
I don't know what you're talking about, Henry told him.
You saw a woman who looked like your wife, Gwydion explained.
He raised a hand and an image of Henry's wife appeared. Dark hair, dark eyes, wearing the same jeans and tank top Henry had last seen her in.
She didn't just look like her. The way she moved, the way she spoke, you were certain it was your Helen. You confronted her, and she led you to an abandoned house where you found the remains of several people. The remains were mostly eaten. There was an altercation, Gwydion continued. I don't have all the details, but I surmise that the creature tried to eat you. You managed to cave in its skull.
Henry said nothing. He seriously considered trying to shoot Gwydion again.
What you did not know, Gwydion informed him, was that destroying the brain is not enough to kill a ghoul. If you killed it, the glamour would have stopped working.
The image of Helen changed. Instead of a beautiful woman, there was a rotting corpse with claws and jagged teeth.
It would have looked like this. Fortunately, the head trauma you inflicted was enough to keep the ghoul immobile. It was immobile long enough for you to set fire to it, along with the other bodies and the entire abandoned house.
Gwydion snapped his fingers. The corpse burst into flames and disappeared.
There are very few ways to permanently kill a ghoul. Immolation is one of them.
Henry stared at Gwydion for a moment, thinking. Then he shook his head. You don't know what you're talking about.
You don't have to admit to it, Mr. Briggs, Gwydion informed him. I already told you I'm not with law enforcement.
No, Henry growled. You don't get it. He froze as the memories washed over him. He felt his eyes water, but his voice was steady. It was her. I talked to her, held her. She knew things only Helen would know.
Ghouls take the memories and skills of the people they consume, Gwydion told him. I'm sorry, Mr. Briggs. Your wife was killed and eaten. The thing you killed was not her. It was her murderer. He grimaced. I know it's not much comfort, but you are not the one who killed your wife. You are the one who avenged her.
Avenged her? It was a nice thought. Henry was sure he would never forget the horror of that night. He'd spent the last year thinking his wife had been some kind of crazed cannibal monster. Now she might not be. It wouldn't make Henry miss her any less, but at least he wouldn't have to be so ashamed when he cried for her. Unless this Gwydion was lying. Henry wasn't an idiot. He could buy the idea of magic and monsters, but that didn't mean this guy was on the up and up. Gwydion was here for a reason. He wanted something. Henry would be a fool to trust him, no matter how much he wanted to believe. Why should I believe you? Asked Henry.
Gwydion shrugged. Believe me or don't, Mr. Briggs, I didn't come here to set your mind at ease.
Then why are you here? Henry growled.
Because you are exactly what I need, Gwydion told him. A man of violence. A man who has survived the inexplicable. A man who understands that monsters are real.
He looked pointedly at Henry's gun.
And who is willing to try to kill them.
You gotta be shitting me. Henry kept his gun pointed at the man, but his eyes searched around the kitchen. He strained his ears, trying to pick up the other man's breathing.
Do I?
Gwydion lifted one annoyingly perfect eyebrow.
Look at what you're doing. You've already figured out you're not talking to the real me.
You should have magicked away the bullet holes, Henry told him. He pointed at the wall behind the fake Gwydion.
Show yourself. What, she can shoot me? Gwydion laughed. I think I like you, Mr. Briggs.
Well, I don't like you, Henry snapped back. Show me the real you or get the hell out of my house.
Do you promise not to shoot me if I do? Gwydion asked.
I promise to shoot you if you don't, Henry threatened. The fake Gwydion considered that, then shrugged.
Fair enough.
He disappeared. Another Gwydion appeared, leaning against the kitchen table. He held a set of folders in his hands. Henry pivoted to level the gun at the intruder. Gwydion raised one hand in surrender.
I'll go. I can see that I've overstayed my welcome.
You were never welcome in the first place, Henry reminded him.
That's true, the intruder admitted. I apologize for intruding into your home. It was predicted that you would attack whoever tried to recruit you. I thought it would be better for that to happen somewhere private.
Henry frowned. Predicted? By who?
Predicted by what? Gwydion corrected. And that information is too dangerous to give you at the moment.
He grimaced.
Not that you would believe it anyway.
He held up the set of folders.
These are for you.
He set them on the table. What are they? Henry asked.
The first folder is the details of our investigation on the ghoul you killed, Gwydion explained. The second is an explanation of our organization and a recruitment offer. Contact information is included.
Henry's eyes narrowed. What's the third one for?
The third folder is a dossier,
Gwydion told him.
A profile of your first target, should you choose to accept our offer.
Gwydion ended his casual lean, moving slowly with his hands at his sides.
I won't lie to you, Mr. Briggs, this is dangerous work. Worse than anything you've seen in your time in the military. Most slayers do not survive their first year.
Then what makes you think I want to get thrown in the meat grinder? Henry asked. And why do you want me so bad?
We want you because you defeated a ghoul with your bare hands, Gwydion told him. I've never seen that before. You were also highly trained and accustomed to violence.
Gwydion gave Henry a pointed look.
Our work is too important and too dangerous to throw just anyone into the meat grinder. We want capable, dangerous men who can get the job done. As for why you're interested...
The intruder let out a slow breath.
I won't insult you by offering revenge or a higher purpose. If you don't want to fight monsters, you can throw those folders away, and we'll never bother you again.
He gave Henry a considering look.
I don't think you will, though.
Henry was, in fact, interested. Very interested. Especially the part about the thing that might have killed his wife. His hands itched to open up the folder. He'd be damned if he'd let the intruder know that, though. Fine. You made your pitch. Now get out of here before I kill you. 8 months later, Henry waited impatiently as his teammate picked a lock. The lock belonged to an ordinary-looking house in a quiet suburb on the outskirts of Boston. It was late, or maybe early, but he still felt pretty conspicuous, all decked out in tactical gear, in the middle of someone's yard. The teammate, a woman named Hendricks, was short, stocky, and no-nonsense. Henry liked her. He didn't think she liked him. Henry was pretty sure she didn't like anyone. Henry didn't consider himself a people person, but compared to her, he might as well be Mr. Rogers. The other two on the team were new, and a lot more easygoing. Real social butterflies, those two. Jans was a big guy, a meaty mix of fat and muscle. Vasquez was even taller, but he was so skinny he might as well be a skeleton. The two had spent most of the trip here jabbering about guns, girls, and cars. Henry had been afraid they'd never shut up, but now that they were on mission, they did their part in blessed professional silence. Hendricks had the lock open in under a minute. Henry took point, opening the door as quietly as he could, with his shotgun at the ready. The lights were on. The living room was empty. Empty and immaculate. Henry didn't see a speck of dust, and every inch of wood on the old-timey-looking furniture gleamed. Oiled, Henry realized. Lemon oil, judging from the smell. Classical music was playing on the television, playing loudly. It was not quite loud enough to cover the sound of screams. A man, from the sound of it. The screaming was muffled. Quiet. So quiet that he hadn't heard it outside of the house. Henry's guess was it was coming from the basement. Henry didn't go to the basement. Not yet. Yeah, there was someone that needed saving down there, but that didn't mean the target was down there with them. Or worse, there could be more than one of the freaks. That had happened once. Henry and Hendricks had been the only survivors. Henry and his squad checked the rest of the house. He resisted the urge to rush. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Henry moved as efficiently as he could, checking his corners and keeping an eye on the ceiling, just in case. They cased the first floor, then the second. They didn't find anyone. Henry took the stairs to the basement as quietly as he could. His pulse was racing, but Henry kept his breath slow and even. He let his shotgun hang from his sling and gently gripped the knob to the basement door. He signaled the others with one finger raise, then two, then three. He turned the knob. The door didn't open. The door was one of those metal security door type things. Someone had applied paint and wooden panels to make it match the rest of the house's swanky old-fashioned vibe. It was locked with a pair of heavy-duty deadbolts, but there weren't any maglocks or anything. Henry pointed at Hendricks and gestured at the door. She came forward. The screaming stopped while Hendricks was working on the door. Henry sighed internally. Maybe he should have come straight here. If he'd busted into the basement right away, he might have saved the poor guy. Then again, busting in right away might have gotten them all killed. The Seekers had been investigating this place for weeks, and they still weren't sure what Henry would be dealing with. They knew it was killing, and they knew it was in this house. They knew it was corporeal and could maintain a human form. They couldn't confirm anything else. The Seekers were the investigative branch of the organization. They used a mix of technology, the occult, and good old-fashioned detective work to find the things that preyed on humanity. They were good. Real good. But they weren't magic. Okay, some of them were, but they still didn't know everything. It was one of the reasons being a slayer was so dangerous. Henry was a slayer. Once the Seekers find a target, it was his job to kill it. It sounded simple enough. It wasn't. Henry put a lot of time into research and logistics before he and his team made a move. Dozens of hours of work and planning. All for a few quick minutes of extreme violence. Hendricks finished picking the lock on the door. She crept back up the stairs, pressing the butt of her shotgun back into her shoulder. Hendricks had been doing this for years. One would think she'd be the leader, but she didn't want the job. It was just as well. She had the social skills of an autistic brick. Henry might be new to this whole monster hunter thing, but leading men in combat? He was an old hand at that. Henry tried the door again. It opened with a hair-raisingly loud click. Henry's adrenaline kicked up a notch, but he kept his motion slow and easy. The door swung open with a creak. Henry winced and moved in, shotgun at the ready. The basement was not quite as fancy as the rest of the house. It had a tile floor with a drain in the middle. The walls were panelled in wood and decorated with paintings and a lovingly maintained grandfather clock. A large wooden table was set up on the far side of the room. The table was equipped with medical restraints, which were currently strapped around the body of a shuddering human being, a fit man in his 20s. He was sobbing. Most of the skin had been removed from his legs. On the other side of the table was the target. He appeared to be a short older man in spectacles. He wore an apron, a clear plastic face shield, and rubber gloves that went up to his elbows. He was hunched over his victim, scalpel in hand. He glanced up at the sound of the door opening, then jerked upright. "You shouldn't have..." The man's dangerously annoyed glance switched to wide-eyed fear when he saw the gun in Henry's hands. "Wait!" He raised his bloody hands. "I can..." Henry shot him in the elbow. The man screamed and dropped his scalpel. Henry didn't stop there. He shot the other arm, moving swiftly into the room. Henry circled as wide around the table as he could. He wanted to shot at the target's legs, but he didn't want to get too close. If he'd learned one thing in the last 8 months, it was that you never let the monsters touch you. The 3 other squad mates moved in behind Henry. Vasquez posted himself at the door, serving as rear guard. Jans and Hendricks provided suppressing fire. Shotguns blasted the target's head and chest into a ruined, bloody mess. The target fell over. Henry finished coming around the table. He shot the man in the knees. A lot of undead could ignore pain, but destroying the joints would still slow them down. "Reload," he ordered. He could hear Jans and Hendricks obey, but he kept his eyes on the target. The thing wasn't moving. It looked dead. The man on the table was still whimpering. "Ready," Hendricks reported. "Cover me," said Henry. He let the shotgun drop in his sling and pulled his machete. The other 2 moved up, weapons trained on the body. Henry brought his machete down with all the force he could muster. It cleanly severed the target's leg. The target didn't move. Henry swung again and again, quickly dismembering it. Then he took his head. The thing still didn't move. It was a mess of blood and exposed tissue. The coppery smell of blood mixed with the putrid tang of feces in Henry's nostrils. Shit and blood. That's what death smelled like.
The corpse still wasn't moving. Henry kicked the head away from it, then tossed the arms aside for good measure.
Brief.
Jans broke off with a cough.
I mean, Zeta-1? I don't think that's a monster.
That's what I said in my first hunt, Henry told him. The ghoul didn't drop the glamour until we set it on fire.
Yeah, Jans agreed. But that guy didn't fall out no ghoul. I think that's just a guy.
A hint of doubt made Henry frown. Did he just kill a normal human? His eyes fell on the man on the table. Henry noted the cut on the man's arm. The target had been skinning the poor bastard alive. Doesn't matter, Henry decided. The target's killed at least 6 people that we know of. We kill monsters, Zeta-3. I don't care if they're human or not.
What about this guy?
Jan stepped closer to the table. The man strapped to it stared at him with wild, terrified eyes.
Oh, God,
the man on the table pleaded.
God, it hurts. It hurts. Can you help me? Please? Please help.
Don't touch him, Henry barked. Jans froze in the act of reaching forward on the medical restraints.
He needs medical attention, said Jans.
He'll get it, Henry promised. But we're not qualified to do that shit. I'll have Zeta-5 call him an ambulance. He started to reach for his radio, then remembered he was working with fancy gear now. Did you get that, Zeta-5?
I got you, Zeta-1, came the reply.
Zeta-5 was the 5th member of the squad, a wiry guy named Vanguard, which was funny since his job was to guard the van.
We could at least let him out of the restraints, Jans argued.
He'll hurt himself more if he tries to move around, Henry pointed out.
I won't,
the man on the table argued. He was crying.
I won't. Please, just let me out.
I really think, Jan started. Shut the hell up, Zeta-3, Hendricks snapped. You try to let him out and I'll shoot you myself.
What?
Jans turned to glare at the woman.
Why?
Because he might not be human, Hendricks growled. She shook her head. Idiot. Stow it, Zeta-2, said Henry. Zeta-5, let me know when the ambulance is coming. Everyone else start packing up the body. Each of them took out a rolled-up duffel bag. Henry grabbed the arms and head. Hendricks took the legs. The torso got stuffed into the biggest one, which Jans hefted with an annoyed grunt. Then he had to set it back down when Henry reminded everyone to police their brass.
Police our brass?
Asked Vasquez. Oh, right. Vasquez hadn't been a military man.
It means pick up all the bullet casings, Henry explained.
We're not backed by the government. We can't afford the attention of law enforcement.
So no evidence, Vasquez nodded. Got it.
He lowered his shotgun and started to help. Not you, Henry told him. Keep your eyes and your gun on that staircase.
Yes, sir.
An embarrassed Vasquez turned back to the stairs. A minute later, they had all the shells. The man on the table was still begging them to let it out. Henry told him help was on the way. He ordered his squad to leave. The man started screaming at them not to leave him there. Jans hesitated, but a look from Henry sent him on his way. Henry left the door to the house open. He smeared a little blood on it for good measure. Then he realized he shouldn't have bothered. The duffel bags were leaking. Whoever came to check would definitely realize something bad had gone down. The 4 of them hauled their bags and guns back to the van. It was a Ford Econoline with a plumbing business logo painted on the side. They got in. Vanguard left his little monitoring station and hopped into the front seat. They drove away at a sedate pace. Is an ambulance coming? Henry asked.
Somebody is, Vanguard assured him. An anonymous caller reported gunfire and a very suspicious black SUV at this address.
Henry nodded. Good work.
I think Jans was right, you know, said Vanguard. I think we just killed a plain vanilla human. Serial killers function a lot like monsters. We end up picking up a few every year.
We're going to burn him anyway, Henry told him, and scatter the ashes in running water. I'm not taking any chances.